All right, welcome to a special issue of Breaking Points. Pakistani voters went to the polls across the country today, and I am kind of new to handling the different devices on this Riverside Live thing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn it over to you, Murtaza Hussain, my colleague over at the Intercept, first to give us a little bit of background. We're also going to be joined by Waqas Ahmed, who's a Pakistani journalist, to talk about the absolutely shocking election results so far, and then I'm going to play a little bit of videos that we've picked up from social media and also from my questioning of the State Department earlier today. So, Maz, kind of catch us up. What's going on so far?
So for the past couple of months, the Pakistani military, or beyond that even, the Pakistani military has been working to effectively rig the Pakistani elections. Of course, the Intercept, we've done some reporting showing how the U.S. was involved in deposing Imran Khan, who's, by polls show, the most popular prime minister in Pakistan, the most popular politician in Pakistan, the former prime minister. And Mr. Khan, has been banned from the elections. His party has been more or less dismantled or made efforts to dismantle them by the military. And yet, it seems that despite all these massive roadblocks and impediments put in their way, the Pakistani Tehreek-e-Insaf, as it's called, looks set to win the elections according to early polling results. And not just win the elections, but decisively win the elections. So I think it's quite a resounding sort of message to the military that despite their attempts to suppress Mr. Khan's party, suppress him personally, he's currently in jail, the people of Pakistan clearly have evident strong favorability towards him and his party. And whatever efforts they've undertaken to block his electoral chances or to even impugn his credibility and reputation have not seemed to resonate with the people of Pakistan, as we're seeing tonight with these results.
Yeah, and the most blatant thing they've done, I guess, has been abducting candidates to prevent them from even running, and then also knocking down mobile service and the internet leading up to the election. But they also not only jailed the leading candidate Imran Khan, but effectively, like you said, dismantled his party. And so, as we talk about these results, we're going to be talking about independents who are backed by the PTI rather than PTI candidates. And Wakas, why is that?
Well, PTI has been actually banned from running as a party. So this PTI candidates cannot run as members of PTI, and they're supposed to run as independents. So what we're now seeing, results are, we're seeing the effects of that what was intended initially. They wanted PTI to be off the ballot so that when results start coming in, we do not see PTI victory decisively. We stay confused about which candidates are actually winning because now they have independent in front of their name instead of PTI. So I'm looking at results like out of 483 that have currently come in, 283 are independents. We don't know if they're PTI. They're most likely PTI. So overwhelmingly, these independent candidates are winning. But one way to look at it is by giving votes to these independent candidates overwhelmingly against all other parties that were favored by the military, people have actually rejected those parties and actually favored independents, which are basically members of PTI.
All right, that's important context for the question that I had at the State Department today for Vedant Patel. So I'm gonna pull this up, and then we can talk about what his answer means. So here this goes.
Following up on Pakistan, thank you for taking the question. So far, the preliminary results have Imran Khan's party, I think, at this point, with leading in 136 districts. That's three times the next closest one. We're now seeing reports in Pakistan of two separate things. One, the army is in the streets, the police are in the streets, they're surrounding polling stations, and you're seeing a lot of reports and videos of efforts to change the vote. They're kicking election officials out. A lot of concern that number 136 by tomorrow morning in Pakistan could be pushed down lower. Separately, you're seeing also surface in Pakistan an attempt by the kind of military-connected officials to take the independents who are associated with PTI and pressure them to join other parties. So even though Imran Khan's party might win a majority, after torture and bribery, you could have a different government take power. So you've, on the podium, stood up for free and fair elections. But free and fair elections are one thing, but if you torture your way to a majority after that, that doesn't quite live up to kind of the values that you were stating for us. This seems like a pretty pivotal moment for America and the Pakistan relations.
Look, Brian, the thing about preliminary results is that they are preliminary, and I am not going to get ahead of any official results, so I'm not going to comment or speculate further on what a government could look like, what the makeup could be, or anything like that.
You would be okay.
What I will just reiterate again is that we condemn all instances of election-related violence, some of the kinds that you were describing, that took place in the weeks preceding the election as well as on election day. We also believe that these kinds of actions have affected a number of political parties across Pakistan. And we're also concerned about the steps that were taken to restrict freedom of expression, specifically around internet and cell phone use. But again, I'm just not going to
just real quick,
speculate on results or government makeup.
But let's say the Pakistani people do elect a majority of independents associated with the PTI, but then after a bunch of backroom negotiations, which are accompanied by reports of torture, all of a sudden there's another candidate that has a majority. Would that be okay with the United States?
I'm not gonna
you can't say that wouldn't be okay with the United States.
I'm not gonna hypothesize on a made-up situation that you're just describing right now. We will, at some point, I have no doubt that the United States of America will comment on the official election results when they happen. But till then, we will defer to the electoral process, which we believe we take very seriously.
All right, Waqas, what was your reaction to that answer?
This is honestly disgusting at this point, because what we have to take into account what has happened on the ground in Pakistan. They have tied the legs and arms of one political party, and he just said that it has happened to a number of political parties, name two.
Right.
There's no other party that this has happened to. It has only happened to one political party, and they have tied the arms and legs of this political party. They have put people in jail, thousands of people, including the leaders. They have banned this party. Yet today we see this party winning in absolute crazy numbers. And this is something inspirational. It is about the indefeatableness of the human spirit. It's something like that. It's something epic that has happened to Pakistan. And then to steal this from Pakistani people who have resisted the military junta for so long, and who have fought so bravely and so amazingly, using democracy and no violence, nothing at all. And now they have voted the people that they have chosen, and this mandate is about to be stolen from them. And all of these people who have stayed quiet for 2 years and who have condoned this violence that has happened with Pakistani democracy, they will continue to do so. It will honestly be so disgusting to watch.
Yeah, Maz, what was your reaction when you saw the statement? What do you think? What should we draw from that?
Well, he's clearly not very happy with your consistent questioning of him at these conferences. But I think it's interesting to draw a juxtaposition between his response and the way they respond in countries where there's similar or even less egregious or vote rigging that takes place beforehand. And the U.S. Department, the State Department is quite vocal about it. They're quite enthusiastic in condemning those cases. He's so cautious in this case about saying that. And at the end, if you notice, he doesn't even say that we take the results, the election process as legitimate. He says we take it seriously because he posits himself. It's impossible to say anything otherwise at this point. So I think, unfortunately, a lot of people in Pakistan, as Waqas was saying, they do very strongly believe in democracy despite all these roadblocks put in their way. And they're counting on, because of the role the U.S. plays in Pakistan as a de facto part of the ruling compact in some way, the influence it has, and given the U.S.'s vocal support of democracy globally, they expect some sort of consistency and some sort of reliability from the U.S. government. Fortunately, they expect that, and it doesn't seem to be forthcoming. So I think that if it were to come to pass that even after this very significant and I think shocking in many ways election result to come out this way despite all these roadblocks, if the U.S. government sits quietly or even endorses an outcome which is clearly unfair and clearly unjust from the perspective of Mr. Khan's supporters, I think you'll see a great disillusionment. You'll see that the U.S. ability to speak in other contexts will be greatly hindered as well.
And related to the State Department, I wanted to quickly share this New York Times article that was updated just maybe 10, 20 minutes ago. It says here, as a result, this is from the New York Times, the coverage of the election. As results began to trickle in Thursday evening, the party of former Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif, the military's preferred party of the moment, was still expected to win, but it did not look like it would pull off the easy victory that was widely predicted. So to describe this earlier, I think it described them as neck and neck, but it's been updated even since then. So they took out the kind of neck and neck verbiage, but they left in was still expected to win, which to me is such a striking phrase because they might actually be correct. Like from the perspective of the State Department and the New York Times, regardless of the fact that the votes and we can put the votes are so heavily in favor of the PTI at this point, the New York Times and the State Department may still expect Nawaz Sharif to win. So, Waqas, setting aside who got more votes, what would you say about who's expected to win at this point?
Well, independent is not a party. If independent was a party in Pakistan, it would be the biggest party in Pakistan's history right now. The way independents have won. So technically, and all of the things that State Department says and like the Pakistani government says is technically true. Technically, PMLN might be the biggest party, but independents, they still have more independents than them. So they'll have to get all these independents on board, and that will usually happen with military coercion, threats, bribery, and all of that. So State Department will be able to continue. They'll be continue to be able to say that technically PMLN emerged as the biggest party. New York Times would like truthfully say that PMLN is the largest party. But the context of that is that PTI has been banned. All of the PTI members are independents, and independent has won.
So how would independents actually go about forming a party? I assume they'd have to find a kind of rump faction of a party that they could then all join with. What is the PTI strategy? Assuming, let's pretend that they can get through the overnight shenanigans and the torture and everything that we're going to see over the coming days, and they do emerge with a certified majority. Like, how do they enact that majority in the parliament without having a party? Like, who do they align with?
Well, they can form their own party, or they can they can basically form a forward bloc within the PTI, or this the core decision that actually banned PTI is in the process of being appealed. And if in appeal it goes and then PTI gets its symbol back, gets its party back, then PTI might be able to form a party in the parliament if nobody is able to get to them. That means that they might be able to vote for their own prime minister, and they might be able to vote for their own cabinet. And if that happens, PTI would, it's really possible that they can have a party. So they're still in the game despite everything that has happened. And the major upset in today's election was that PMLN did not win a clear majority, and they would not be able to form a government. And now Pakistani parliament is, in any case, no matter what happens, it is going to be hung.
What I'm playing here, this is footage of police officials who are kind of surrounding a polling location. You're seeing tons of this from everywhere around the country. I can try to share a little bit more of it. Oh, there we go. See, I told you I'm not very good at doing this. Let me try again. Let me pull up a different one. Here's so. If you go to my Twitter feed, you go to if you go to Waqas's Twitter feed is WORKS, you'll find these videos everywhere. But it looks to be one of the most documented attempts to steal an election, documented on social media. Here's somebody who's just been who's kind of been captured. You have other videos of ballot boxes getting stuffed. You have ballots on fire. You have military figures throwing boxes into jeeps and riding off with them. Maz, do you think that the hill is too steep for the military to climb here to flip this election, or do you think that nothing is kind of out of reach here?
Well, the thing is, they went to such extraordinary steps before the election to rig it with the internet shutdowns. You wrote a great article in the Intercept about it, actually, all the ways that they'd, gone above and beyond to try to fix this election beforehand. Not least what they did with Imran Khan, personally
Right.
himself as well too. So, after the vote, now having strategy having failed so visibly and so hugely in a way, now there's almost these very comically extreme attempts to rig the vote, stealing votes, he said, stuffing ballots, much of it captured on video. I think that the subtext of all this is that the Pakistani military has been caught flat-footed by the way that ordinary people have been kind of been empowered by social media in a sense, because obviously PTI used social media very extensively, Imran Khan used it extensively, and now they have these sort of very unsubtle forms of manipulation of ballots, but people can record them and share them. So when everyone's seeing what's happening, it's all documented. It's not very effective anymore. It kind of implies more or shows more what's going on. So I think what may happen is that they still have all the guns in Pakistan. They still have all the institutional power. They may still be able to rig the vote in some other way by forcing people to change parties. Various different ways of applying coercion to do that. But I think what's going to happen that is if they're still engineer a result at the end which they like, they're going to have such a crisis of credibility and lack of public consent, because of all of Pakistan's democratic shortcomings, you need some critical mass of people who at least abide that this is a legitimate government. And if you don't have that, in the military's case, it would be very difficult to govern over a long time. So I think what could happen in the long term is you could see a return to military rule in Pakistan, which has happened many times in the past. There could be consequences, potentially in terms of sanctions from the U.S. and the international bodies. But, if the Pakistani military sees it between a choice of losing power entirely or becoming a pariah and ruling directly, it may choose the latter.
And Waqas, I have to agree with you that watching people turn out in such force in the face of such repression was nothing short of inspiring. It became totally clear that the Pakistani people had immensely more faith in democracy than, for instance, the State Department. The United States has been practicing democracy for more than 200 years, and was kind of shown, I think, by the Pakistani people what democracy actually means. And they went out knowing that there would be all of these different elements of repression, too numerous and too absurd to even get into. So as you're watching these results come in, where would you suggest that people go to be able to follow this? Because I know that people are getting really interested in this incredible story of resilience by the Pakistani people, but it's very hard to find anywhere where you can actually kind of follow it in a reliable way. So, like, where do you go for your news, and where should English speaking and reading audiences go where they can follow it?
Well, it's mostly on X.com, Twitter. Everything is there. Pakistani media isn't that reliable, but there are some websites that are collecting data. So the data that has come in so far has been somewhat reliable because they're coming directly, that data is coming directly from polling station. So if you go to Twitter, there are some.
Yeah.
The PTI account itself is a very good resource to follow about all the videos that are coming in, because they have a huge network. So if you follow PTI official, you'll see all the videos that they have been collecting about rigging attempts and successful rigging attempts. You'd get to see those. And then there's a journalist, Imran Riaz Khan. I've recently heard he was kidnapped for 5-6 months, I think, by the military. He was kept there. But if you search Imran Riaz Khan's name again, you'll see that he's active again. And I've heard that they probably might attempt to kidnap him again. So, journalists
incredibly
in Pakistan
courageous, because he went through.
He was in custody for 8 months. He was tortured. He was alone. He wasn't in police custody. Nobody knew where he was. So when he came out, he was quiet. He couldn't even speak properly. He was stuttering for a month. And now he's like able to write about things. So he's saying things again, and he might be picked up. But this is the problem with following credible, famous people in Pakistan, because they get picked up. So you have to rely on anonymous accounts. and you basically have to do your own fact checking. You have to collate your own data and see if it's correct or not. It's like very few resources available in Pakistan. But if you go to Twitter, you get some idea of what's happening.
Yeah, and I guess the last point I'd want to make is to, thank everyone, the editors, fact checkers, producers over at the Intercept that helped us do the reporting on the cable that you were talking about earlier, Waqas. And there's no guarantee that this is going to hold, but at some point, I don't think the generals are going to be able to hold back this tide. But this would be the second kind of reverse regime change operation, so to speak, that the Intercept would have been involved in recent years. And our colleagues down at the Intercept Brazil exposed corruption that had led to the jailing of Lula da Silva down in Brazil. He was freed from office, and the Brazilian people restored him to the presidency. We're in the middle of an epic moment here, but we don't know where it ends. But it's certainly something that I think the Pakistani people should be proud of. Any last words from either of you that you wanted to add?
Yeah, I can add something. American government says it values democracy and it backs democracy all over the world. We have clearly seen what Pakistani people want, what the democratic aspirations of Pakistani people are. To continue to deny them is the United States and Biden administration would be thinking in a very short term to do that, because if they continue to deny these people their democratic aspirations, you're turning a whole generation of Pakistanis into anti-American people. And that doesn't really work for the American government. Pakistan is a big, major country, and eventually, if you can deny them their right for now, for 1 month, for 1 year, for 5 years, but eventually people will get what they're aspiring for. And when they do that, you don't want Pakistan to be like a second Iran, where the revolution brings in a government that is completely anti-American. So it is so important to engage with these people. Their aspiration is not invalid, and it's so important that the United States government understands this.
Yeah, very well said. That was what I was trying to get at with my question with Vedant, that this is a moment where, despite everything that the U.S. has done, that this is a moment where, if they did recognize the democratic results from this election, I think that would go a long way to mending some of the fences that they broke over the last few years. But we'll see. We're going to continue to follow it. Maz, Waqas, thank you both for joining me. Really appreciate it.